Hello, good morning, students. We are going to discuss about the general microscopic features of GIT as well as esophagus. Okay. So first thing is what are the different features or what are the different histological layers of the GIT we will discuss, and later on we will discuss about the special features in the esophagus. So after the class, students should be able to enumerate and describe the different histological layers of GIT, then to describe the contents of these layers, and to describe the histological layers of esophagus and its differentiating features from the other parts of the GIT. So after the class, students should be able to enumerate and describe the different histological layers of GIT and to describe the contents of these layers, that means of these histological layers, then to describe the histological layers of esophagus and its differentiating features, histological features from the other parts of GIT. So as a whole, when we discuss the GIT, histology of the GIT, we are having 4 layers. Okay, so we have to know these 4 layers from inside to outside. Innermost layer is called mucosa, then we are having the submucosa, then we are having the muscularis externa, and then serosa or adventitia. In some part of the GIT, we call this outer covering is called serosa, in some part we call it is adventitia, according to the your origin tissue. Okay. So any histological features of the GIT, you can write. If you don't know anything also, at least you can write that mucosa, submucosa, muscularis externa, serosa or adventitia, and draw one diagram at least. Okay. Now come to the again mucosa. Mucosa, this is the innermost part. So mucosa, it is made up of epithelium. So this mucosa is having 3 layers itself. This mucosa is having 3 layers from the inner to outer. Innermost is called epithelium, or in some books it is writing as a lining epithelium. Okay, so if you are asked to write down what is the lining epithelium of the esophagus, that means it is your epithelium. Then outer to the lining epithelium, we are having the lamina propria. Then outer to that, muscularis mucosae. In some books, it is written as a muscularis interna also. That is why here it is muscularis externa. Okay, muscularis mucosae or muscularis interna. And these mucosa show some folding. Okay, this mucosa is having some folds. So it's in some part of the GIT, this mucosa folds as a longitudinal folding. Means it is folds are longitudinally present, while in some part it is circularly present. Okay, so it may be circular mucosal fold or it may be longitudinal mucosal fold. In different parts of GIT, this is different. Pattern is different. Now epithelium. Why this epithelium is present? Main function is protection. Wherever we have some chance of having some injury, mechanical injury, in those cases, this is stratified. And those part where there is a very less chance of mechanical injury, but there is a chance of chemical injury. In those cases, also it gives protection by secreting some fluids, which will form a coating over the lining epithelium. Okay. So main function is protection, then absorption, because in the small intestine it will absorb. In the large intestine also it will absorb. Then secretion. In the small intestine, in the stomach, they will have to secrete juice. Your enzymes, these enzymes and juices are secreted by this your cells, epithelium. Okay. So function is protection, absorption, secretion. Then outer to this lining epithelium, we are having the lamina propria. Lamina propria, functions are mostly supportive. To support to whom? To the overlying epithelium. That means it gives your base. It forms as a base where the lining epithelium are seated. Okay. So it is made up of loose connective tissue. In some parts of the GIT, it is having some glands also. Okay, and lymphoid follicles also. In different parts of the GIT, but loose connective tissue everywhere you will get. This lamina propria is made up of loose connective tissue, but in some parts, some glands are present. In some parts, lymphoid follicles are present. Okay. Then it is rich in blood supply and lymphatics. Clear? Then come to the muscularis mucosa. I will finish first muscularis mucosa because this is the your mucosa. So muscularis mucosa, it separates the mucosa from the submucosa because lining epithelium first, then we are having the lamina propria made up of connective tissue, then outer to that we are having the muscularis mucosa, or it is our muscularis interna. Outer to that we are having the submucosa. So it separates the mucosa from the submucosa. Then it consists of inner circular and outer longitudinal layers of smooth muscle. That means smooth muscles. It is muscularis mucosa is nothing but it is a layer of smooth muscle. How these muscle fibers are arranged? Inner fibers are circular, outer fibers are longitudinal. Okay. Then produces localized movement. These muscles are producing localized movements of the mucous membrane. That means these mucosa is moving. Okay, these folds are also sometimes it may have to enlarge, it may have to stretch out. So these movements are taking place by means of this muscle layer. Now come to your mucosa of different parts of our body, GIT, mouth. This lining epithelium is non-keratinized stratified squamous epithelium. Okay, because in the mouth what happened? There is a chance of mechanical injury, so it is stratified, but non-keratinized. Then pharynx. In the pharynx also same, non-keratinized stratified squamous because there is a chance of mechanical injury. Esophagus, again non-keratinized stratified squamous because we are taking what food material. We have to crush in the mouth cavity, then we have to swallow, but it is not digested food material. Second thing, hot water, then your cold, your hot drinks, when we are taking, then what will happen? There is a chance of mechanical injury. So that is why it is stratified, but it is non-keratinized. That means from mouth to esophagus, it is non-keratinized stratified squamous epithelium. Then stomach, simple columnar. Here it is main function is secretion. Here it is protection. Here it is main function is secretion. Gastric juices are secreted by the glands, and these glands are nothing but these are the glands are extension of these lining epithelium. Okay. Then small intestine, again simple columnar, but here we are having some villi. Mucosa is having some villi. Villi, why? To increase the surface area for the absorption. So function is mainly absorptive. Large intestine, again simple columnar. Here also some function is, amount of function is secretion as well as your absorption. Then anal canal. In the anal canal, if we divide into upper and the lower part, in the upper part non-keratinized stratified squamous epithelium, but lower part which is keratinized stratified squamous epithelium. Clear? So this is our, suppose this is our innermost layer. Okay, this is the innermost layer. So this is our lining epithelium. This lining epithelium, after that we are having the lamina propria. This white part is the lamina propria, which is made up of connective tissue, and then we are having the muscularis mucosa. This is the muscle fiber. So this is as a whole, this part is our mucosa. Now what happened, you see, this epithelium is extending into the lamina propria to form some glands. Okay, some lymphoid follicles, mucosa associated lymphoid follicles may be present in the lamina propria. Outer to that muscularis mucosa, which is muscle fiber, smooth muscle fiber. These are longitudinal layers here. Whatever it is shown, it is longitudinal. Outer to that we are having the submucosa. Okay, this white part is submucosa. Then mucosal folds. What about the folds of the mucosa? In the esophagus, your mucosal folds are not present. Okay. Then in the stomach, these are longitudinal mucosal folds which are called rugae. And these rugae, it goes inside. These rugae, suppose here there is a longitudinal fold and these will go inside, which will form gastric pit. When we discuss stomach, you can know what is gastric pit. Then small intestine, that is mucosal folds are circular mucosal fold, which is known as a plica circularis. In the mucosa, we are having the villi. Then in the mucosa, that is we are having the crypts of Leverkuhn. These are extension of the actually formation of the gland. Then microvilli are also present, which helps in the your absorption. Large intestine, This is again circular fold, which is called hostration folds, and intestinal glands are present in the mucosa. Clear? Now come to the submucosa. Submucosa presents between the mucosa and muscularis externa. So mucosa, that is mucosa, is having 3 layers, lining epithelium, then we are having the lamina propria, then outer to that we are having the muscularis mucosae or muscularis interna. Outer to that we are having the submucosa. Outer to that we are having the muscularis externa. So mucosa and muscularis externa. In between that we are having the submucosa. Again it is consist of loose connective tissue like our lamina propria. Then here it is having some blood vessels, lymphatics and glands. Okay. Then nerve plexus. This plexus of autonomic nerves called plexus of Meissner's. So Meissner's plexus of nerve fiber is present in the submucosa. See here, this is the submucosa. In this submucosa we are having the glands. This is made up of connective tissue. Then these are blood vessels, blue and red, vein and artery, and these are the nerve plexus, Meissner's nerve plexus, submucosal autonomic nervous plexus. Okay. Outer to that we are having the muscularis externa. See here, some fibers are circularly arranged, some fibers are longitudinally arranged. In this picture it is very clear. Then in different parts of the GIT, this submucosa is having some specialized structures, like in the esophagus. In the submucosa, we are having the submucosal gland. Submucosal mucus type of glands are present in the submucosa, in the esophagus. Stomach, nothing is present. No glands are present in the stomach, in the submucosa. Then duodenum, Brunner's glands are present. This is special features. Okay, special histological. If you can remember these two charts, at least you can write something in the exam. Okay, so duodenum, it is your Brunner's gland. Where? In the submucosa. Ileum, we are having the lymphatic nodule or lymphatic follicles, which are known as a Peyer's patches. This is specific for ileum. In nowhere you will get these Peyer's patches in the submucosa. Only in the ileum you will get. Then large intestine, nothing is present, nothing special. That means nothing means substance are present, that is loose connective tissue, blood vessel. These will present, but special features are not present, like Peyer's patches, Brunner's gland, or submucosal mucous glands. Okay. Then esophagus, come to the muscularis mucosae. Muscularis mucosae or muscularis your interna. Here smooth muscle. Esophagus, there are 2 layers. This is part of actually mucosa. So smooth muscle layer. In the esophagus we are having 2 layers, that is circular and longitudinal. But in the stomach, this is not muscularis mucosa, this is muscularis externa. Okay, muscularis externa. So come to the muscularis externa. It is consisting of 2 layers of smooth muscle. Normally the whole GIT is made up of 2 layers of smooth muscle. Okay, inner circular, outer longitudinal. But some deviation is there. Inner circular, outer longitudinal, is a layer of autonomic plexus lies between these 2 layers. Here also we are having the autonomic between this inner and outer circular layer. In between these 2 layers we are having some autonomic nerve plexus. In the submucosa we are having autonomic nervous plexus, which is known as Meissner's. But in the muscularis externa, again there is your autonomic nervous plexus, which is known as a plexus of Auerbach. So you have to remember these 2 words. Okay, Meissner's plexus, submucosa, or plexus of Auerbach, that is in the muscularis externa. Then your contraction of this muscle, muscularis externa, helps in the propelling of the food contents through the GIT. Okay. So here it is just muscularis mucosae, it is muscularis. Here you see this esophagus, it is having 2 layers. In the smooth muscle layer, that is muscularis externa, again it is made up of smooth muscle. Inner circular, outer longitudinal. But in the stomach, there are 3 layers. Inner oblique, middle circular, outer longitudinal. Only this your deviation is only in the stomach. In other part, esophagus, small intestine, large intestine, 2 layers, inner circular, outer longitudinal. Except in the stomach, there are 3 layers. So inner oblique, middle circular, outer longitudinal. Then come to the serosa or adventitia, that is the outermost layer. This outermost layer, it is somewhere we call it is adventitia. When we call it is adventitia, when the loose connective tissue, whatever the covering or whatever the tissue, this serosa or adventitia, it is made up of loose connective tissue. When it is derived from the neighboring structure, that means suppose in the peritoneum or in the pelvic cavity. Okay, in the pelvic cavity it is derived from the pelvic tissue, or in the abdominal cavity, suppose it is derived from the other your connective tissue like covering of the muscle. Okay, if it is derived from other neighboring structure, then we call it is adventitia. Or if it is derived from peritoneum, then we call it is serosa. That means those part of the GIT which is intraperitoneal, these are, in those cases we call it is serosa. Intraperitoneal means when it is covered by peritoneum, whole part of the if some part of the GIT is completely covered by the peritoneum, that means your outer layer is derived from the peritoneum. In that case, we call it is serosa. But if part of the GIT is covered by the peritoneum and other part, posterior aspect is not covered by the peritoneum, it is derived from the other tissue, then we call it is adventitia. Okay, so this is the outer covering. So this is our adventitia. Now, your differentiating point or some difference where we call serosa or adventitia in the esophagus. Esophagus, there is no question of peritoneum, because esophagus is mostly in the thoracic cavity, but only a small terminal part is in the intra-abdominal. So adventitia, as it is not covered by peritoneum, so here outer covering we call it is adventitia, except the abdominal part, which part is lowermost part of the esophagus, it is covered by the peritoneum. That is why it is called serosa. Other part we call it is adventitia. Then stomach, whole stomach is covered by peritoneum, that is intraperitoneal organ. That is why it is called serosa. Outer layer is serosa, derived from the peritoneum. Okay. Then small intestine, serosa, as it is covered by visceral peritoneum. But in the small intestine also there is some part, particularly in the duodenum, that in the duodenum some part is not covered by the peritoneum. Okay. Then large intestine, again some part of the large intestine it is covered by peritoneum. In that case we call it is serosa, but some part it is covered by the pelvic cavity, pelvic tissues, and then in those cases we call it is adventitia. Anal canal, it is completely covered by your pelvic tissue. That is why it is called adventitia. Now come to the microscopic structure of the esophagus. So esophagus, the length is around 25 centimeter. Then from the histological point of view, we divide into three parts: upper 1/3, middle 1/3, and lower 1/3 for histological purpose. Okay. So histologically, it is made up of four layers. Already you know: mucosa, submucosa, muscularis externa, then outer serosa. Now mucosa. What innermost layer of the mucosa is lining epithelium. Lining epithelium, already I have said, it is non-keratinized stratified squamous epithelium. It gives the mechanical protection. Then function is mechanical protection. Then outer to that lining epithelium, we are having the lamina propria. So lamina propria, it is made up of loose connective tissue. Sometimes some glands may be present. Okay, so it may or may not present. So it is not mandatory that glands should be present. And few lymphoid follicles may be present. Okay, in the lamina propria. Mainly it is made up of loose connective tissue. Apart from that, some glands, mucosal glands may be present, and lymphatic follicles may be present. Then come to outer to the lamina propria, we are having the muscularis mucosae or muscularis interna. Interna means it lies inside, that is why interna. Another is outer one, but muscularis externa. So it separates from the submucosa, then consists of thin layer of inner circular and outer longitudinal layers of smooth muscle. Okay, here it is smooth muscle. Mind it, smooth muscle. So inner circular, outer longitudinal. Then submucosa, again it presents between the mucosa and the muscularis externa. Already I have said. So here you see, this is our mucosa. Okay, mucosa means lining epithelium, then lamina propria, then muscularis. This is our muscularis interna. So this is our lining epithelium, stratified squamous epithelium, non-keratinous stratified squamous epithelium, this part. Then we are having the lamina propria made up of connective tissue, loose connective tissue. Outer to that we are having the muscularis mucosae, that is our smooth muscle, inner circular fiber, outer longitudinal fiber. When you have to draw the diagram, inner circular you show some circle because it is a transverse section. When you draw the longitudinal fibers or circle, but circular fibers you have to draw your curved line. Okay, so it consists of, then come to the submucosa. Outer to that, this is our submucosa. Then this submucosa is again, it is made up of loose connective tissue. Then some blood vessels and lymphatics may be present. Then in the submucosa we are having the autonomic nerve plexus, which is called plexus of Meissner's. Then esophageal mucosal gland, which is your important histological differentiating point from other part. That is, esophageal mucosal glands are present in the submucosa of the esophagus. Okay, which secretes the mucus and acts as a lubricant to the food bolus. When we swallow the food material, it will have to go down. So if your lining epithelium is rough, then what will happen? It will get injured. So if some lubricator is there in the surface, what will happen? Food will go very smoothly. So these mucosal glands secrete mucus, and this mucus helps in your movements of the food material through the esophagus. Then outer to that we are having the muscularis externa. This is our muscularis externa. So inner fibers are circularly arranged while outer fibers are longitudinally arranged. And over and above this we are having your plexus, nerve plexus, which is called your Auerbach's plexus. Okay, or myenteric plexus. Myenteric or Auerbach's, it is same. Here it is Meissner's. Mind it. Here in the submucosa, Meissner's. Muscularis externa, Auerbach's or myenteric nerve plexus. Now here your important part is here. In the muscularis externa, these muscles are arranged in two layers, no doubt, inner circular and outer longitudinal. But in the upper one third, your muscle fibers are mainly skeletal muscle. Mind it. In the upper one third of the esophagus, here I have written muscularis externa, muscles are arranged in two layers, inner circular, outer longitudinal. Fibers are circularly and longitudinally arranged, there is no doubt. But in the upper one third, muscles are only skeletal. In the middle one third, both the skeletal and smooth muscle is present. But in other part of the GIT, all these muscle layers are only smooth. But in the esophagus, upper one third, this muscularis externa, muscle fibers are your skeletal. In the middle one third, both the skeletal and the smooth muscles are present. In the lower one third, only smooth muscle fibers. Okay, so this is one of the important aspects we have to know. Now, if this contraction of the muscularis externa, it helps in the movements of the food material up to the stomach. Now, what is the advantage? You just see in the upper one third, if the muscles are skeletal, if suppose instead of skeletal, if smooth is given, then what may happen? What will be the consequences? Suppose some food material which is unpalatable or which should not taken. Suppose one point, unfortunately if a baby just given in the food mouth and it goes. Okay, if the thing is in the upper one third, we can control by ourselves, because skeletal muscle is voluntary muscle. So if something is going inside, immediately we can vomit out by our will, because it is controlled by our voluntary nervous system, or it is your somatic nervous system. In the middle 1/3, as the skeletal and smooth both are present, there is a chance we may able to expel the food material, but we may not be able. Okay, that is depends on which part. In the upper part of the middle 1/3 we can, or if it is in the lower part we cannot. In the lower 1/3, suppose the food material which is unpalatable, if it goes in the lower part, then it is not possible because it is completely made up of smooth muscle, which is non-voluntary muscle. So we cannot control it. Clear? This is the advantage. Then adventitial layer in the thoracic part, this whole esophagus we can divide into thoracic part and small part, inner part, intra-abdominal part, or you can say abdominal part. So thoracic part, it is derived from the outer layer is derived from the your thoracic fascia or the fascia which is in the thoracic cavity. So it is adventitia. While in the abdominal part, it is derived from the peritoneum. That is why it is called serosa. So this is our picture. See here, this is our up to this much. This is our mucosa. This is lining epithelium, stratified non-keratinized stratified squamous. Then we are having the lamina propria made up of connective tissue. Lymphatic follicles may be present. Then outer to that we are having this thin layer is muscularis, your interna or lamina propria. Okay. Then outer to that we are having this is your muscularis externa. But in between this muscularis mucosae and muscularis externa we are having the submucosa. Very thin layer of submucosa where some submucosal glands are present. Here it is not shown, submucosal gland. Outer to that we are having the muscle fibers. Inner circular fibers, outer longitudinal. But in case of upper 1/3, it is your muscle fibers are skeletal, middle 1/3 it is mixed, and in the lower 1/3 it is your only smooth muscles are present. What I have told mucosal fold. So this actually some folds, though it is said that there is no fold, but some longitudinal folds may be present in the esophagus also. And here this is another picture. So this is the lining epithelium. Okay, this is lining epithelium, non-keratinized stratified squamous epithelium. Then we are having the lamina propria. Lamina propria made up of connective tissue, blood vessels may be present. Then this is our muscularis interna or muscularis mucosae. Okay, but then submucosa. Here some glands are shown, submucosal glands. Okay, then outer to that we are having the muscularis externa. Clear? This is another picture. This is lining epithelium. Then this is our muscularis mucosae. Here is actually this is the submucosa is also there. Outer to that this is the thin layer is muscularis mucosae. This thin layer. Then this is our submucosa. In the submucosa some glands are present. Okay. Then outer to that this is our muscle fibers. Inner circular, outer longitudinal. So endoscopy, when we do the endoscopy, we have to put the endoscope through the oral cavity, then we go and we have to see, we can see the color. First thing is the color, or whether there is any ulceration is there in the mucosa or in the lining epithelium, we can see. Okay, this is the one of the clinical importance actually. Okay, thank you. I hope you can understand. Okay, students?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.